Hello, hello. Welcome to the Imperfect Podcast, the space where we talk with genuine, amazing guests about their imperfections. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Ziad.
How are you today?
Well, I am showing up imperfectly, so I guess I'm okay.
Amazing. That's what counts. So, Lisa, let me start by introducing you a little bit, but then I love to give this very stressful, let's say, task to my guests to present themselves. I think it's the most awful question that we could ever receive. But
I know. I think you tried to avoid it on my podcast. I'll see if I can avoid it on yours.
exactly. So here's the intro. So Lisa, I was on Lisa's podcast, Make Life Less Difficult, a few months ago, and the episode was released a few weeks ago, and we fell in love. We fell in love. I think we share even though we don't know a lot of about the details of our life, but we share a lot of common values, common ways of seeing the world, of trying to also put some meaning in this chaos in which we live. So I really enjoyed talking to you, Lisa, and getting to know you. And I'm so excited for this coming episode because I'm sure I'm going to discover more parts of yourself that will be very interesting to see. So that's my intro. Lisa, now it's up to you to talk about yourself, please.
What else can we talk about today? It's so funny because I recently started asking my guests this question, and you were one of them. Like, who are you? What's the work you do in the world? And I realized how it's so difficult to put into my own words. And you did a beautiful job of trying to avoid that question.
For 15 minutes.
For 15 minutes. Yeah, we'll see how long I can go. But it is interesting to me how challenging it is. And right now I am in the midst of a transition, and I think in the unknown it's even more challenging. And also what I'm finding, it's exciting because I can try things out. And I'm like, oh, well, how does it sound if I say I'm this or that? And then the other thing that I notice is that my brain, first of all, goes to what I do, not who I am. And then to come back, and it's really good right now. I feel like I'm in this process of like coming back to like, who am I? Like, it doesn't matter what I do in the world. Like, who am I? And I am Lisa Matilda Hope Tilstra. And I'm a human on the journey of life. That I feel like is the core right there.
It is. It means everything and nothing.
Yeah.
Can you
I
tell
love
me
that.
more about it? Yeah, I'm cool because I'm trying to push but no, I think everyone boils down to this definition: a human on this journey of life.
Yes.
Trying to understand what's life, why we're here, what all of this around us, like I'm getting crazy nowadays. And then what can I do to make things better, or to give a meaning to my life, or to the life of the people, or to serve the people that are around me, or.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
did you get some answers?
I'm, I think I'm less interested in the answers than the questions, right? The questions are so interesting. And I think I am someone that I'm a searcher. I feel like for as long as I remember, I have wondered, what's my purpose? What is my work in the world? And I have been through a series of career transitions over the course of my life. I anticipate additional career transitions in the future. And the what is my purpose? That does seem like really core to me. And there's been different times over my life where I think I've landed on it, and I'll take a class or a workshop or, do this or work with a coach, and all of it's beautiful. And I would, get to this place where I'm like, oh, here's my purpose. But then 6 months later, I'd be like, oh, I don't know that that's my purpose. And I go back to searching. And this part is really cool, I think, because around 2016, I ran into this quote that became the basis of my podcast. And it's a quote by Marianne Evans, who's better known as George Eliot. What do we live for if not to make life less difficult for each other? And that just landed with me in a way where it like landed in my soul and my heart. And I was like, yes, that resonates with who I am. Somebody who really does love to make life less difficult for others. And that applies in my personal life, that applies in my professional life. And this is the longest I've gone in my life since 2016, going on almost 10 years.
Wow.
That when I have these days where I'm like, what is my purpose? What am I doing in life? And I visualize myself walking probably about 6 months ago, going for a walk. And that question pops up like, what am I doing with my life? And then it's like, wait a minute, I'm making life less difficult for others. And also working on doing that for myself because I am notorious for making my life more difficult for me.
We are all like, I'm like you, and yeah, I wanted to tell you the others, but also us, and it's so difficult. Yeah,
Yeah. So that is something that comes to mind as I think about like, who am I?
I love it, and it's meaningful and it resonates, and to this point on the on ourself making our life easier. I've been struggling also in the last 2 weeks, work related stress, and I realized how bad am I with myself, like, and I've always wanted to be light for others, and my mantras in the past where I want to be the light and enlighten. And now for the last 2 months, I want to be my own light. I want to do the things I do for others for myself, because if I do them for myself, my light for other will be times 1000. And we usually forget it. And I love the airplane story, like when they tell you to use the oxygen, they first tell you to put it for yourself, then to put it for your kids or the people with you. So yeah, let's make our lives less difficult, huh?
Yes. Yes. And I was having breakfast and a beautiful chat with a friend the other day. And she is one of the kindest people that I know. And yet when she's talking about herself, like she was being so hard on herself and harsh. And I know like I've been there and I was introduced to the idea of self-compassion almost about 10 years ago as well. And it was so foreign to me. I didn't realize how little self-compassion I had until I started reading about self-compassion. And so it's been a practice, and it still is a practice. It doesn't come, I do it very, very, very imperfectly of having self-compassion, but I'm committed to it. And, and just talking to my friend and just encouraging her, like, just please have some self-compassion. Like, what would you say to your friend in this situation? She's like, oh, well, I'd be much nicer to my friend. I'm like, yes, this is one of the ways, like, I have taken in to practice self-compassion is to think through, okay, what would I tell my friend right now? Okay, I would be much kinder. I would be much nicer to my friend than I'm being to myself. And it's difficult. It's not an easy thing. And this is where this idea of making life less difficult really resonates for me, Ziad, because the the growth, the development that happens inside myself, and especially we'll just stay with the example of self-compassion. It's hard. It For whatever reasons, it doesn't come natural for me. I hope that for some people in the world, it does. But it's hard work, and it's difficult work, and it's difficult work that's worth doing because it gets me to this place that's less difficult.
So Lisa, you are perfect. You are a
Mm.
human on a life journey. You don't care about the answers. I love your answer. I don't care about the answers. What is important is the question. And I'm like, bam, a slam for me, because it's all about the answers for me. And if I change my answer 6 months ago, I'm like, why didn't I know before, So thank you for this slap. You make your life and other people's life easier. So you are perfect, Lisa, no?
Oh my gosh, I do not resonate with that statement at all.
So tell me more about your imperfection. It was a subtle way to get us there.
When you first shared with me this idea of doing the Imperfect podcast, I just said, yes, yes, yes. Oh my goodness. I I have been and still am a perfectionist in certain ways. For quite some time in the past few years, I described myself as a recovered perfectionist, and then I had to come clean and be honest with myself and say, "Oh no, I'm not recovered. I'm still." And I'm most perfectionistic with myself. I don't expect others to be perfect. I don't have this, expectation of others. It's all on myself. I expect myself to be perfect, to get everything figured out and to be the one to manage everything. And it used to hold me back, and I'm really grateful to a friend of mine whose name is also Lisa, and she taught me the saying. She said, "If it's worth doing, it's worth doing imperfectly." And I was like, "You are right." Because if I'm gonna start doing something, especially if it's something new I haven't done before, I'm not gonna do it great. It's gonna be imperfect. It's gonna be like, maybe it's gonna be really terrible. But if it's worth doing, then do it. And my hope is that at least I improve and I get better. But this idea of perfect, I think the second thing that layered on for me over the years is, what is perfection? Perfection is a myth because I might do something and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got it perfect." But then you look at it and you're like, "Well, I would have done it this way." Or someone else looks at it and, they think it's 115% and somebody else thinks it's like 75% of what they could do. And so it's like, what is perfection? Perfection is this myth. And I'm like worn out by trying to pursue this mythical thing called perfection. And so intellectually, I'm at this place of like, yeah, there is no perfection. And yet I still have this internal drive to be perfect.
I totally see you and feel you and I after this podcast, I think I'm gonna do something because like every guest has an imperfection and it resonates with me. So I have all the imperfections, because especially now that you're talking about this perfectionist, I also thought that I was like that and I'm not anymore. And I was very happy when I did the Enneagram, the Enneagram personality types. I thought I would
Yes.
be the perfectionist, but I was not. So I was very happy. Okay, you see, Ziad, you are not perfectionist. And I worked a lot on my expectations from myself and from others and all that. And recently in my turmoil, I was reading, I don't know how I bumped into the Enneagram types again. And I was reading about my type because my type is the 7. And I read that the 7, when we are stressed, we become the perfectionist. So, and we become scattered, and we become this, and we become that, and we become, we lose our faith in ourselves and all that, and it opened my eyes on the fact that I was creating this reality because I was expecting things to be perfect and I wanted myself to be perfect. I wanted the project to be perfect. I wanted the colleagues to be perfect, and no one was perfect. And so it was me who unconsciously was creating this tension. And once I discovered that, I stopped trying to be in control of something I can never control. Because I think perfection and control, they go hand in hand, no? Don't you experiment it in
Yeah,
this way?
yeah. I guess I have to admit that I like control too. If I also like perfection, then I have to admit I like control. Yep, I think they do go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it will remain in us.
Ah, yeah, and I think that is so if we bring it back to the self-compassion, it is this element of, okay, well, can I have compassion on myself? And I have over the years worked with a number of different therapists and different coaches and feel really grateful because I've learned about, okay, well, it makes sense because growing up in my family, my dad was definitely a perfectionist. I heard my mom say all these like terrible things about herself. If she messed something up or dropped something, she'd be, oh, I'm so clumsy. I'm so stupid. And like I hear her now and I'm like, oh, it's no wonder that I absorbed those things. And I try to gently be like, Mom, it's okay. Like, please don't be so hard on yourself. Um, but yeah, to really look at that and again, it just like, okay, to have self-compassion. And the interesting thing, when I first learned about self-compassion, there was like this fear that, well, if I have too much compassion and kindness towards myself, maybe I won't be motivated to grow, to change, to do better. Cause I do want to do better. Like I want to improve myself. I want to grow. I have for decades described myself as a self-growth junkie. Just I love the journey and the challenge, and sometimes it's a love-hate relationship with the journey and the challenge to myself. But ultimately I love it and I pursue it. And and what I have found is that self-compassion actually creates more almost more motivation and just more space to grow, to explore, to dig into my imperfections and be like, huh, well, that's interesting. Wonder where that came from or what that means or what do I do with that now? Do I just accept it or do I try to pursue this and try to grow and try to develop and, grow into a different version of myself? So I love combining the self compassion with the imperfection.
Lisa, I'm sure that many of the people that are hearing you don't, including me. What is self-love and self-compassion? Can you give us like examples of things that you do concretely to, because it will mean different things for everyone, but let's take your example and get some clarity on this. What is self-compassion?
Yeah, it's a great question. And my understanding of it has been very much influenced by Kristen Neff's work. She wrote the book called Self Compassion. She does academic research on self compassion. And in my own words, when I think about compassion, compassion is this place of seeing the suffering of others. We'll focus on others for a moment because it's easier for me to start there. Seeing the suffering of others and being moved to try to relieve the suffering. So it's a little bit different than just like having empathy or sympathy. It's like, no, I see the suffering and there's something in me that is moved to try to relieve that suffering. And again, when I first think about this for other people, the way I'm wired up, I love people. I love to connect with people. Empathy tends to come pretty naturally for me. So when I see others, I see their suffering, there is like this natural internal movement to like, oh, what can I do? How can I be with this person that maybe it doesn't eliminate whatever their suffering is, but it just makes it a little less difficult. And so for me, it's been really helpful to, first of all, just really think about that compassion in response to other people and then say, okay, self compassion. Notice the suffering in myself and be moved to try to relieve that suffering. And I think and I've already mentioned it and I'll go back to it because I think it's such a powerful technique of self compassion is saying, what would I say to a friend in this situation? So I'm going through a transition right now in my life and lots of different things are changing and I have questions about lots of different things and what do I want to do when I grow up? And I'm 49 going on 50 and I'm also saying like I should have this figured out. I am grown up. I should know what I want to do when I grow up. Why am I still dealing with this question? Come on, Lisa. And what would I say to my friend who was in this transition and asking these questions of like, well, what do I want to do next? And and who am I? That feels like a really big question to be asking. Again, that's one of my questions right now. I was like going back to this question of who am I? And being frustrated with myself. Like, man, I've done so much work. I've done so much therapy. I've been coached and it's great. And I've known who I am. And like, why am I asking this question? So I kind of beat myself up and I should know better and I should have this figured out. And then to pause and say, wait a minute, what would I tell my friend who was in this situation? And I would tell my friend, you know what? Just be with the questions. Just know you're not supposed to get it all figured out. You're at a beautiful place in life. Lots of people are asking that question, even who are older than you. And in some ways, it's just it's a beautiful transition, especially as I'm going into like a new decade of life, to step back and ask these questions and be thoughtful about, yeah, well, who am I now and who do I want to be and what's going well in my life and what do I want to shift and change? And I even hear myself in the tone of voice that I'm saying this when I'm thinking about what would I say to a friend and then to direct that inward to me. And I've literally been using this practice over the last couple of months of saying like, wait a minute, it's okay that you're asking this question right now, Lisa. Enjoy the journey. And I don't know who says that you're supposed to have all this figured out by the time you're 49, almost 50. And so that just tangibly is one of my go-to strategies for practicing self-compassion. What would I say to a friend? And then to say it to myself.
You consider me as a friend?
I do.
Can I compliment what a friend would say?
Yes.
Look back and see everything you have achieved, all
Mm,
the challenges that you've been through, all the ups and downs. And every time you find the internal strengths and resources to come out of them even stronger. And that's what you are going through now. But please remember yourself.
thank you for that. Yeah, it's a really beautiful feeling that it gives me of just um there's a peaceful feeling that comes with it internally. My body like physically feels more relaxed and calm as you say that. And it is such a great reminder because yeah, I can look back over my life and be like, yeah, I've been through a lot and I've made it through those things. Yeah, thank you.
Come. I had someone, I did once, I was really in a bad situation and I did an energetical work with a therapist. And during the work, she was taking me back to my older self about these key moments that really were tough, for example, in my life, and going from age to age and remembering the resources, the unlimited resources that I have in me, because at the time I was completely, you know, and it was so helpful. It took time for me to really acknowledge all this, but since then, every time I have a period of questioning or challenges, I sometimes I can't remember myself because I'm blurred and I can't see even, anything. But then I keep saying to myself, remember yourself, remember yourself, remember everything you've passed through, remember your inner strengths and resources, because in fact, we give away our power when we wait for an answers from an official answer for anything. And so I've been more and more conscious about how much I can be in control of my power. I can give it away to somebody or to a situation or to uncertainty or to question or to whatever, and I can own my power and acknowledge, as you were saying, the question, and keep 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 going. you know? But
Yes.
easier said than done.
Easier said than done. And I have to say, hearing you say what you did to me just a moment ago is this beautiful gift that people in our lives can give us, because ideally I'm holding that power within me and I'm seeing in myself, yes, okay, I can do this. And sometimes I just get lost in myself and I can't see it. And so to have a trusted friend in our lives who can speak into our life and say, "Hey, Lisa, remember, just look over your shoulder. Look at the things you've been through. Look at the strength that you've developed from that." That is such a tremendous gift, Ziad, when I can't find that within myself.
So, Lisa, now, in this moment of your life, what are the areas that you feel the most imperfect in, or the roles?
I'll tell you right now, I am I'm really working to figure out my role in my family. My family is really, really important to me. And I have 3 older sisters, I have a younger brother, I have, how many? 12, 13 nieces and nephews. 9 of them are all in their old adult, young adult, like 20 up to 31, 32, and then there's 4 that are 2, 3, 4, 5 in that age range. Staying connected with family is really, really important to me. And some of my family members are really easy to stay connected with, and some of them are more challenging. And I have this desire to stay well connected with everybody. And I feel like there's particular relationship that is like challenging, and I'm trying to figure it out, and I'm noticing it, and it's interesting that this is coming up for me as you ask this question, because there is this, I've got to figure this out. I've got to fix this relationship. I have to make it work. And it's super interesting to step back and say, okay, well, what is that about? Is that about me trying to have the perfect relationship? And who's to say, coming back to my own words, like, well, what is perfection? What does that mean? Because thinking about the other person, well, like maybe they don't need the same amount of connection or closeness or, way of being connected as I do. And so to consider that. So yeah, so it's interesting to think about like my role in my family, and it also connects with my husband's family. And again, I tend to be like the emotional connector
Mm.
in groups and in my families. And there's times like with my husband's family where I'm like, we're so disconnected. I don't ever talk to this person, that person, like, it's terrible. I should do more. I should reach out. And like, and and so it's interesting now to put that through that lens of imperfection and to say, well, like, but what if it's not all my responsibility to build these perfect relationships? And back again to perfect,
Yeah.
what is perfect? And to say, well, these relationships are beautifully imperfect, and there's just a little shift inside me even as I say that.
Plus,
Like,
it
oh,
takes two to tango, you know?
it does take 2 to tango.
So, and maybe what is a good relationship for you is not the same definition for them. So if you speak for every 6 months, for them it's amazing. That's the connection is high. For you, maybe you need more connection, etc. My wife did something interesting last week, I think, or the week before, which is family constellation, and she encouraged me to do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm still not ready now, but I'm gonna try it. And in this kind of exercise, you can see exactly what you were saying, that maybe this person, whatever you do, you will not be able to to connect, because this person is in a way in her own world, or so it opens our eyes on things that we control and things that we do not control. Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that question. It's really fun to kind of think through that. And then also we have holidays coming up, and there's going to be family gatherings, and I'm going to see some of these family members, and it actually just shifts things a little bit and say, because sometimes I'm like, well, if that person's not, reaching out to connect with me, maybe they don't want to, so maybe I should pull back. And really what it's prompting me to do is think, like, well, what is meaningful for me in this relationship? And regardless of how that person responds back, let me be authentic
Yeah.
and be me, and not take their response if it's not as warm and close as I'd like. My tendency is to take that as rejection. I am being rejected. And it's like, no, like, I don't know maybe what's going on. Right. And
You're reminding me when I started working. I'm like you, I used to, like, if I pass next to someone and they didn't say hi, for example, oh, I'm not loved, I'm rejected. And it used to happen a lot for me at work. And once I went,
yes.
I was really young, it was my first job in consulting, very, competitive and all that. And I found a book which is called The 100 Anxieties That We Can Have at Work. And they describe the 100 case, like that you say, for example, you say your boss passes and you say hi and they don't reply. Okay. Possibilities. That they had a fight with their wife this morning. Their son is sick. No. It's not all about you. I'm not the center of the world. Maybe they were not as warm as I wanted, because we create these stories and we feel rejected and we are like it's the end of life. But in fact, we are like, I'm seeing on Instagram also these days, life when you get the job, and the second image, life when you don't get the job, and it's in fact the same scenery. Life when you are loved, life when you are not loved. In fact, we are a fraction of the whole world. So yeah, and we tend to
Yeah.
take things personal. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so easy to put myself at the center of the universe and everything is about me. You mean it's not all about me, Ziad?
But it's now we're talking and we can talk about it, but then in real life it's much more difficult to do, because at the end of the day we have been brought up being the center of our life, meaning we are the subject of our life, and so we are working, we want to provide, we want to be good friends. So we were raised in this way. So whatever we feel today is also it's common. It's not like we are crazy, but we are talking about it. Whereas
Yes.
when we look at Instagram, for example, or when we look at the TV, or when we look at things from outside, oh my God, they are perfect, they are amazing, and this adds a layer of pressure on us perfectionists. So how do you deal with that when we are living in a perfection obsessed world more and more? How do you deal with that?
I mean, there's so many things that come to mind, Ziad, and it really comes back to my friend Lisa's saying of, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing imperfectly. And I think it becomes a practice for me. So my very first podcast that I started was with a business partner. And so we were co-hosting. And when I first said to Tim, we should start a podcast, he's like, oh my gosh, we have no idea what we're doing. I don't think we could do it. There's so many people out there doing this and they're doing it so well. And I said, you know what I've done? I've looked at some of these people who have really intimidating podcasts and YouTube channels. And I think to myself, I could never do that. But then I go back to their very first few episodes and I look at that and I'm like, oh, well, like I could probably do that. And seeing that, guess what? People develop and improve over time and add in different things. And it took the pressure off of trying to come in at this like perfect level. And so I said to Tim, I said, you know what? Let's just start. If we don't start, we'll never get to that point where we can look back and say, oh, wow, look at all that we've learned. Look at how we've grown. so that's become something that I have internalized and have to remind myself of when I feel hesitant to start something imperfectly. It's like, okay, let me just start. I'm going to learn. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to do things that I might kind of be embarrassed of. Like, wow, I put that out there. Okay. And also, I'm going to learn and grow over time. And so it's going to become different. And it's not this goal of quote unquote perfect. It's this goal of, yeah, let me do it. Let me learn. Let me become a little bit better over time and improve what I can and embrace what I can't improve and just put things out there imperfectly. And so that was my first podcast. And then I started the Make Life Less Difficult podcast. And one of the things that has been so beautiful, Ziad, is that my most imperfect episode, and I say that because I was traveling in Nepal. I lived in Sri Lanka at the time. We went to Nepal for a couple weeks, and I did not take along any, like, my microphone. Sometimes when I travel, I take along my microphone. So, might do a podcast recording. But I was like, I'm going on vacation. We're going paragliding. We're going hiking in the mountains. I'm not going to do anything with my podcast. And I think the second day I was there, we went into this bakery, and there was an American woman in the bakery running the bakery. And she was kind of just like had an interesting energy. And I started chit chatting with her, and her baked goods were amazing. And I was like, what are you doing here running a bakery in Pokhara? And she starts telling me like a little bit about her story. And I was like, um, will you be on my podcast? And I'm saying the words, and I'm like, I don't have any way to record a podcast. And she's looked at me a little bit strange because here she's just meeting, and she's also sort of like, okay, sure. So then the week goes on, and next thing we know, it's like 2 days before I'm leaving. And my husband asked me, he's like, have you talked to Gigi? Are you going to talk to her? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't have like a way to record. And it's really, I don't know if I can get her away from the bakery. So I was like, well, let me just go talk with her. We had a couple hours Thursday afternoon. So I went and I was like, what about this afternoon? Is it okay? She's like, yeah, sure. Can we just sit here in the bakery? And I'm like, yeah, I guess. This is like a small little bakery on the street. There's stray dogs walking along. There's people coming and going. She's got her staff who are working on things. It's hot. There's, no AC in any of these places. So there's a fan running, and I just have my phone. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how this is going to go, but I put my iPhone on record, and we sat there and we had a conversation. And you can hear the fan in the background, and you can hear the noise and all of this. The quality is it's incredibly imperfect. Like, you could hear our conversation, right? Like, it's not that terrible, but it's like, it's so imperfect. And I listened to it and I was like, oh, is it okay? Should I put it out there in the world? And I did. I put it out there. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing things imperfectly. I'm going to put it out there. I believe that these stories that people have to share, they will find the people that need to hear them. And a few days after I posted this podcast with Gigi reached out to me and she said, hey, I just got a message from this guy named Mark. I'm going to call him Mark. I won't put his real name in right now because I haven't had permission for him to tell the story right now. And she's like, who is he? And should I be like, responding? And I was like, oh my gosh, like, Mark is one of my favorite people in the world. It's a friend of mine who was going through a really tough time in his life. And he heard this podcast with Gigi, and he said, I want to go there and I want to work with her in her bakery.
Wow.
And he lived in Europe, and it started this journey of him going to Nepal for several months and working in Gigi's bakery. Gigi is also, she's a woman beyond description of her own journey and her understanding of the world and the universe. And she, took Mark in as a friend, and she was a mentor to him. And I just saw him recently, and we were talking about that, and it was truly transformational for his life at that point in time, truly transformational. And so it just brings me back to this point of like, this is the episode that the poorest quality, literally poorest quality of audio, and I put it out there anyway. And I've had more than one person reach out and talk to me about that episode, but the fact that it was a catalyst for another friend of mine to just really be transformed and to be in a space of healing and growth during an incredibly difficult time in his life. It's so humbling, Ziad. And it is one of those touch points that just reminds me, okay, Lisa, put yourself out in the world imperfectly, put your work out in the world imperfectly, because it's the only way to do it. And when I'm doing what I feel called to do and I feel passionate about doing, it all sorts itself out. And it's not about getting it perfect. It's just about getting it out there and releasing it to the universe and letting the magic happen.
Wow, what a beautiful story. I think touching or having a positive impact on the life of people, and especially people that we love, but also anyone, I think it's the most rewarding thing that you can ever have. And all the perfection, and we want things to be all these are stories our mind create to protect us from doing things, and your level of awareness is so high of it, and still we get trapped, even if
Totally.
we are aware of it. So it's a constant work. It's the constant work to do on ourselves. And as you said, you are passionate about self-growth and personal development and all that. So I'm sure that you grew a lot in the last couple of years. What is the one thing that you had to let go, one thing that you had to let go of to enable yourself to go to the next level?
Oh boy. So there's something very recent that it's so recent, it's almost difficult to find the words exactly. So I'll do my best. But in my personal growth, there's been a number of things that have been happening over the last few years. And I mentioned this to you before we started recording of I can track back to 2022, a little over 3 years ago, some events that happened that pushed me to grow, pushed me to show up in the world in ways that I didn't really want to. But I was like, okay, well, here's the challenge. I'm going to do it. And a number of things over the years that I feel like, again, there's just been like this, I'll call it percolating growth. There's been things that have been pushing me, and I've been being challenged in my life, and particularly relationally with my husband, but those things can also extend out to other family members. But I have also felt like I haven't really figured out what is the growth. It's like there's these pieces of growth and there's these challenge, and I'm doing my best to like step into them. And also it just felt like there's something more here. And so over the last couple of months, the language that I am coming to describe and sort of like this blossoming that's happened in my personal development, I have realized that I show up and try to be what I will call the emotional infrastructure in a lot of my relationships, my marriage relationships, some with my siblings, other people. And it's like, I am the person that tries to take care of everybody and everything and make sure everybody's happy. And, well, especially things with my husband. well, I was really hurt by this that he did, but I know he didn't mean it. So I don't really need to say anything about it. I can manage myself. And if I say something, then he's going to feel bad or he'll get defensive because I know he didn't mean it. And I do all of this emotional work and these like gymnastics inside myself because I'm trying to take care of other people around me. And underlying that is this fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. And so I'm seeing more and more clearly all of this work that I tend to do in these relationships. It's because I fear being rejected, being abandoned. And I think that if I provide enough and I take care of everybody enough, well, then they won't reject me. They won't abandon me.
Mm.
And of course, like I can't control that. I still could be rejected. I still could be abandoned. And what I have realized is that in the process of focusing so much energy on everybody else and taking care of everybody else and making sure everybody's feelings are okay, I have abandoned myself. And I'm like, I'm not showing up really honestly as myself. And so if my feelings have been hurt, I don't have to go and be like, brah, you hurt my feelings. Why did you do it? But I can say, hey, this hurt. When you said that, this hurt my feelings. And I had this experience a couple times, one with my sister recently, and I know she didn't mean it. I know she didn't mean it. So I walked away from the interaction and I was just like, oh, I know she didn't mean it. She'll just say things and should just let it go. And then I was like, but what if I just say, what if I give myself permission to show up and say, when you said that, that hurt my feelings. And I'm sure you didn't mean it. I just want to share with you. And so I did. And she got a little defensive and, explained why. And it's like, it's okay. It's okay that she did that. I feel different. It feels really different to say, hey, this hurt my feelings. Professionally, I had a situation in the last few months that someone treated me really poorly. And I did all the mental gymnastics of like, well, this is probably going on for that person and I should just let it go because it's fine in the end. And then like this change for me is it's okay. It's okay for me to say that this hurt. And I crafted this email and sent off to this person. I just said, when you did this, it was really hurtful. And I don't need anything in response. And I never even got a response from this person. It's okay. But the thing that I am letting go is this need to take care of everything and this really abandonment of myself, because that's really what I have been doing as I have tried to provide all of this emotional infrastructure and take care of everybody else. So it is this letting go of an abandonment of myself, and it's seeing myself and saying, hey, you know what? I matter. I matter enough to speak up if something has hurt me or bothers me. And it doesn't mean I need anything from the other person. I can just say it. And it allows me to show up more honestly in my relationships. So, I'll pause there because
Wow.
it's been a lot and amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of awareness. It's a lot of uh, work on yourself. It's a lot of getting out of your comfort zone. It's not given to anyone to do it. What you did, so well done. No, really, I think it's what you've done is amazing because I'm gonna tell you, I believe that we all have two fears in us: the fear of abandonment and the fear of rejection. No, three: fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, and fear of failure. These
Yeah.
three fears for me are the three most um, ingrained fears, and they dictate a lot of our actions. But also, when I heard you talking about fear of abandonment, and then how you realized that you were abandoning yourself fully, because in fact, when we give our energy in the direction of the fear of something, we attract this thing. But we attract it from ourselves, it's and but it's human. It's like we all do this, most of the times when we are afraid of people to do us something, I experimented also, we are doing it for ourselves. And so you getting to be aware of that and giving yourself and not abandoning yourself. It's a big, 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 big statement, big action. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. I love you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. Because you're mentioning 49. Some people, they die and they still didn't figure this out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I haven't had a lot of spaces to actually talk about it. So I feel like even talking about it, it's good to put these things in words. And then I will also share that there's a part of me that's like, no, I really, like, I'm still figuring this out. I probably shouldn't talk about it until I really learned it, right? Which I know is just trash talk in my own head, right? But there is that coming back to the perfection. I haven't perfected this yet. But I do, yeah, it is back to the journey. It is a journey, and it is a beautiful, messy, oftentimes difficult journey. That this is the other piece, I think, for me that is so powerful is pushing myself to share and connecting with people, and then, for you to say, I resonate, also have a fear of rejection, also it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not alone in this. I'm not some outlier, strange person who's dealing with it. It's like, oh, we are connected as humans. We have these similar fears, and yours show up a little different than mine. And yet there's this point of connection that, whew, it makes it less difficult.
Exactly. Stop promoting your podcast.
Sorry.
I'm kidding.
Busted.
Yeah. I'm seeing your strategies, huh? All this to just drop this sentence at the end, huh?
You found me out. Sorry, Dion.
Yeah, it's better to laugh than to cry,
Exactly.
But yeah, you didn't only thought of it and been aware of it, but you also practice it. Wow, Lisa, we're getting closer to the end, and there is the question that I like to finish my podcasts with. But with you, I feel you've already shared so much about you that I feel it's not going to be really relevant. But I'm going to ask it because I'm curious to know what it will bring out of you. So the listeners and the audience of the Imperfect Podcast would like to know one thing about you that no one knows or very few people know.
I will tell you that one thing that people typically don't know about me is the amount of fear that I have. I do a lot of adventure-y things. I love to be out in the mountains. I love to try new things. I'm a paragliding pilot. I'm a rock climber, doing all these. And people, yeah, exactly, right? So people have said to me, oh my gosh, you're so fearless. And it is something that is so not true. I have so much fear. Even just going to the rock climbing gym, like there's nothing like crazy about going to the gym. The other night I said to my husband, I feel like this sense of fear, and like I feel scared going to the gym because I'm like, I'm gonna push myself. I don't know. Am I gonna fall? Am I gonna this? He's like, really? Like, you were just going to the gym. Like, we were there 2 days ago. I'm like, I know. But it's like, and I'll push through it. And after climbing at the gym the other night, I had done 2 extra hard climbs, and I was like falling off them right and left, but like felt really good when I finally got to the top. I was like, oh, I did it. And so I think the thing that people really don't realize is the amount of fear that I have in doing so many things in my life. Coming on your podcast, I felt scared coming on your podcast. And I push myself through it, and it's sort of become a process, and I enjoy, to a certain degree, that process of pushing through the fear and showing up and choosing to be brave. But But oftentimes people see me and just think, oh my gosh, you're so brave. You're so courageous. You have no fear. And I'm like, no, I have so much fear. I have so much fear. So I think that is something that many people don't realize.
Thank you, Lisa. And you know what you're saying makes me think of something, which is fear by itself is not bad. It's what we do with the fear. And if the fear in your case is pushing you to go the extra mile and come to the podcast and go to the climbing and do the paragliding and do the activities that you want, it's okay, because fear, I also thought at some point in my life that I'm fearless. And then I discovered that fear was, like it was in the small things. It was hidden everywhere, under every action, every reaction. There was fear. It was driven by fear. Every action or reaction that I didn't like really in me was driven by a deep fear. And these are the three fears that I spoke to you about. The fear of failure, of rejection, and of abandonment. And these are driving all these things that I don't want to do. So fear by itself is a gift, because it allows us to know our boundaries, to expand them whatsoever. But if we just stop at fear and we don't take action, this is where it becomes, or we do the wrong action. This is where it becomes really bad.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Thank
What
you for
an
that question.
Thank you for your openness and authenticity and genuinity. And in general, I try at the end of my podcast to recap the sessions, but this one was particularly intense. I will do my best. It will be imperfect, okay? So, on this journey with a human, on a life journey, Lisa Hope Tilstra, you started by defining yourself as a human in a life journey, which I really loved. Then you hit me with an answer about questions, saying that the answer of the questions are not what counts, it's the question themselves that count, because it's all about the journey. Then we spoke about your imperfection, your main imperfection, and for you it was your perfectionism. So you wanting things to be perfect in relationship with other, in your work, in every area of your life, and how this paradoxically allowed you to grow, because by being perfectionist and by being aware of your perfectionism and being aware of all the limitation that this is creating in your life, you managed, through personal development and self work, you managed to get out of this perfectionist. How? By asking yourself simple questions. What would you say if your friend came to you and told you this? What would you do if you felt like this? And talk to yourself as a friend. And this took you on the journey of self-compassion with it, which is to feel what other people are, or you in this case, because this is where you had a little bit of difficulty of doing. You feeling what you are, the suffering that you are going through, and trying to make a small step to make life less difficult for yourself. Then you spoke about what did we spoke about? Then you spoke about this perfection-based obsessed world, and how you keep yourself motivated and going through these experiences in a grounded way. And finally, before you speak about fear, you spoke about the last episode of your life where you had to let go of something to become a better version of yourself. And this something was the fear of abandonment that was lying behind every action that you were doing. And how what were you experimenting this in your life is by trying to do the emotional bridge of everyone around you in your personal life, in your professional life, in your with your husband, with your siblings, and your family in general, which is an area that you would like to invest more, but that also was driven, until we spoke about it, with perfection. And now you're saying to yourself, it's okay if the relationships are not perfect, and perfect for me might be different from perfect from other people. And so not only you were aware of this fear of abandonment and this trend that you had, but also you took action by speaking up for yourself, saying when things are going wrong or hurt you, expressing yourself without waiting for an answer or for a feedback from the other person, which is the ultimate freedom that we can get. And finally, you shared with us something that nobody knows about you, because you are a great, adventurous, and courageous woman, which is that behind everything that you do, there is a lot of fear inside of you. And but this fear, you are using it to fuel your adventures rather than stopping at them and just crying on yourself. So I hope I managed to recap the main points of this very intense and very authentic episode, Lisa. Thank you so much for being with me and for being so honest and transparent with us. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Ziad. That was an amazing recap. And I am so grateful to have spent this time with you. I'm so grateful for the beautiful questions and the space that you created for me to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And guys, I'm sure you love Lisa. Go check her podcast. Make life less difficult, especially the episode with me.
Especially, absolutely. Start there. That's the place to start.
No, with Gigi. I wanna listen to Gigi's episode. And guys, please, we're imperfect podcast, still at the beginning. I don't even have a mic, like the setup is crazy, but I count on you. Please subscribe, please like, please share with your friends. We are on YouTube, on Spotify, on iTunes. We have an Imperfect Podcast profile on Instagram. So please do whatever you want to promote us, and thank you so much. Thank you.